The great hall of Meridian Gate Station gleamed under artificial lights that tried to mimic natural sunlight. Princess Hana stood before the massive windows, watching ships from two empires dock side by side for the first time in 15 years. Her reflection stared back at her, a young Valtarii woman in ceremonial robes, about to become a bridge between worlds that had spent over a decade trying to destroy each other. Behind her, diplomats from both sides argued in hushed tones. The human coalition wanted certain trade routes. The Valtarii Empire demanded war reparations. Every word was careful, every gesture measured. One wrong move could shatter this fragile peace before it even began. "They're bringing him now," Minji whispered beside her. Hana's handmaiden had been her friend since childhood. Now, she was one of the few familiar faces in this cold, sterile place. Hana turned as the doors opened. A group of human military officers entered, their uniforms crisp and dark. They moved differently than Valtteri soldiers. Where her people valued grace and precision, humans seemed to carry barely contained energy in every step. One man walked ahead of the others. He was tall by human standards, with short, dark hair and eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. His face showed no emotion as he approached the Valtarii delegation. This was Commander Jiwan, the human they had chosen to marry her. Hana had studied his military record. It made for terrible reading. The Battle of Proxima Ridge, where 3,000 Valtarii soldiers died. The Siege of Carillon Station, where he held a position for 40 days against impossible odds. The final assault on the Valtteri fortress world that ended the war. This man had more Valtarii blood on his hands than anyone else in the human military. And now he would be her husband. Princess Hana of House Ryujin, Admiral Daehyun spoke in carefully practiced Valtari. "May I present Commander Jiwan, hero of the coalition, chosen representative of humanity for this sacred union." Jiwan bowed stiffly. It was technically correct but lacked the fluid grace expected in Valtarii culture. "Your Highness," he said, in a flat tone. "Commander," Hana replied in perfect human standard. She had spent months learning their languages, their customs, their history. If she was to be a bridge, she would be a proper one. Something flickered in Jiwan's eyes. Surprise, perhaps. He had not expected her to speak his language so well. Emperor Ryujin, her father, stepped forward. He looked older than Hana remembered. The war had aged him terribly. "This union represents hope for both our peoples," he said. His voice carried the weight of someone who had sent too many young people to die. The human delegate, a woman named Somin, smiled warmly. "And Commander Jiwan will protect and cherish her as befits the bond between our peoples." Hana caught Jiwan's jaw tighten slightly. Protect and cherish. Words that meant nothing to a soldier who had spent 15 years killing her people. She wondered what threats or promises had convinced him to accept this duty. The ceremony itself took 3 days. Human traditions mixed with Valtarii customs in ways that pleased neither side completely, but offended no one fatally. Hana wore 7 different ceremonial outfits. She spoke vows in 3 languages. She smiled for cameras that broadcast every moment to billions of watching eyes across 2 empires. Jiwan stood beside her through it all, playing his part. He spoke his vows clearly. He accepted the ceremonial blade that symbolized his duty to defend her. He even managed something that might have been a smile when the moment came to seal their union. But his eyes remained distant. He was there in body only. His mind was somewhere else. Perhaps on some battlefield, where he understood his purpose. After the final ceremony, Hana found herself alone with him for the first time in what the humans called a reception. It was a small garden room meant to give them privacy while still maintaining proper protocol. Guards stood outside. Diplomats waited nearby. They were never truly alone. "You don't want this?" Hana said quietly in human standard. Jiwan looked at her sharply. For a moment, the mask slipped, and she saw something raw underneath. Anger, perhaps, or grief. "Does it matter what I want?" "No," Hana admitted. It doesn't. We both have our duties. Then we understand each other. Do we? Hana moved to the window. Below, she could see the docking bays where mixed crews of humans and Valtarii worked together awkwardly. You see a duty you were ordered to fulfill. I see the only way to stop my people from dying. Your people killed plenty of mine, Jiwan said coldly. I know. Hana kept her voice steady. My brother died in the final assault. The one you led. Silence filled the space between them. It was heavy with all the blood spilled, all the lives destroyed, all the hate that 15 years of war had built up. I didn't know, Jiwan finally said. Would it have changed anything? No. At least he was honest. Hana could respect that, even if nothing else. We leave for Kepler 442 tomorrow, Jiwan continued. Your quarters have been prepared. You'll have your own staff, your own space. We don't have to pretend when the cameras aren't watching. Is that what you want? To live as strangers? I don't know what I want anymore, Jiwan admitted. I'm a soldier. I know how to fight. I know how to follow orders. This. He gestured between them. I don't know how to do this. Hana turned to face him fully. Then we learn together. Or we fail. And all those people died for nothing. Something changed in Jiwan's expression. Not warmth, exactly. But perhaps a grudging respect. You're braver than I expected. I'm terrified, Hana said honestly. Jiwan nodded slowly. Perhaps we do understand each other after all. It wasn't friendship. It wasn't even really peace between them. But it was a start. Fragile and uncertain as it was. And sometimes, Hana thought, that's all you get to work with. 6 months had passed since the wedding. Hana stood in the medical clinic she had established in the refugee district, watching Minji help treat a young human girl whose family had lost everything in the war. The child's mother watched nervously, still uncomfortable with Valtari hands touching her daughter, but desperate enough for free medical care to accept the help. Kepler 442 was supposed to be a new beginning. The planet had been terraformed decades before the war, and now served as neutral ground where both species could live together. In practice, it meant separate districts, separate shops, separate lives that occasionally brushed against each other with varying degrees of hostility. The estate where Hana lived with Jiwan sat on the border between zones. It was a large house by human standards, designed to accommodate both their needs. Hana had her quarters on the east wing. Jiwan had his on the west. They shared common areas and ate meals together when his schedule allowed. It was a polite, careful existence. The supplies came in this morning, Minji said in Valtarii, finishing her work with the child. Enough for another month if we're careful. Good. Hana smiled at the little girl and offered her a sweet from her pocket. The child took it shyly, then hid behind her mother's legs. Captain Yuna, the human security officer assigned to Hana, appeared in the doorway. She was a stern woman, with a prosthetic arm, lost in the war. She hadn't wanted this assignment. That much was clear from the start. But orders were orders. Your Highness, Yuna said formally. The commander requests your presence at home. There's been an incident. Hana's heart sank. There were always incidents. Last week, someone had thrown stones through the windows of a Valtarii shop. 3 days ago, a human family had been attacked in the Valtarii district. The piece was holding by a thread. And that thread got thinner every day. She found Jiwan in his study, staring at reports on his display screen. He looked tired. He always looked tired these days. The desk job didn't suit him. Hana had learned to recognize the signs of his frustration. The way his shoulders tensed when he felt caged. What happened? She asked. Convoy attack. The joint trade route through the Epsilon sector. 23 dead, 15 human, 8 Valtarii. He pulled up images of the wreckage. Extremists from both sides are claiming responsibility. Hana felt sick. Those convoys were supposed to prove that cooperation was possible. Every attack made peace seem more impossible. There's more, Ji-won continued. You've been receiving threats. Death threats. Admiral Dae-hyun thinks we need to increase your security detail. I already have guards. Not enough. Ji-won stood and paced to the window. They're getting more organized. More bold. Someone wants this piece to fail. Someone always does. Hana moved beside him. But we can't hide. If I stop going to the clinic, stop appearing in public, they win. If you die, they definitely win. It was perhaps the most personal thing Ji-won had said to her in months. Hana studied his profile. Are you concerned for the peace, Commander? Or for me? He glanced at her, and for a moment, she saw something unguarded in his eyes. Both. The charity gala 2 weeks later was meant to celebrate the progress they'd made. Human and Valtarii elite mingled uncomfortably in a grand hall. Making small talk and pretending centuries of cultural differences didn't exist. Hana wore a dress that blended both styles, trying to be a living symbol of unity. She was talking with Ambassador Salmon about expanding the medical clinics when she noticed the servers. 3 of them moved wrong. Too purposeful. Too focused. Her training kicked in. She was royalty, raised to notice threats. Ji-won, she said quietly. He was across the room but somehow heard her anyway. Their eyes met. She gestured subtly toward the servers. Everything happened fast. The servers dropped their trays and pulled weapons. Screams erupted as guests scattered. Hana saw one gunman aim directly at her. Time seemed to slow. Then Ji-won was there. He moved faster than should have been possible, covering the distance in seconds. He struck the first gunman with brutal efficiency. The man's weapon clattering away. The second gunman fired. Ji-won twisted, the shot missing by inches, and his counterstrike broke the attacker's arm with an audible crack. The third gunman grabbed Yuna, using her as a shield. Ji-won didn't hesitate. He threw something small and metal. It hit the gunman's temple. With perfect accuracy, the man dropped, and Yuna rolled free. It was over in less than 20 seconds. 3 attackers down. Ji-won standing over them, breathing hard. His dress uniform had a tear where a bullet grazed his arm. Blood seeped through the fabric. Hana stared. She had read his military records, but reading about violence and witnessing it were entirely different. He had moved like something beyond human, like war itself, given form. This was the man who had destroyed armies. This was the weapon her people had feared, and he had used all that terrible skill to save her life. Security swarmed in. Medical teams rushed forward. Ji-won waved them away from himself, pointing instead to guests who had been injured in the panic. His eyes found Hana's across the chaos. She walked to him steadily, ignoring Minji's attempts to hold her back. Everyone watched as she took Ji-won's arm, examining the wound. It wasn't deep, but it needed treatment. Come, she said quietly. He followed her to a side room away from the crowds. Medical supplies were stored there for events like this. Hana had him sit while she cleaned the wound. Her hands were steady, despite everything. You moved fast, she said. Training. You could have been killed. That's part of the job. Ji-won watched her work. You spotted them first. Good instincts. Royal training. Hana began wrapping the wound. We're taught to notice threats. Silence settled between them. But it felt different than before. Less cold. Less distant. Your brother, Ji-won said suddenly. What was his name? Hana's hands paused. Daesung. He was younger than me by 3 years. He loved astronomy and terrible jokes. She resumed bandaging. Why do you ask? I've spent 6 months living with you and never asked. That seems wrong. You've spent 6 months following orders. Like a good soldier. Maybe I'm tired of just following orders. Hana tied off the bandage and met his eyes. What do you want instead? Ji-won reached up, his hand covering hers. It was a small moment, barely anything. Just hands touching and honest words spoken. But after months of careful distance, it felt like everything. Outside, security was questioning the attackers. The Peace Council would demand investigations. There would be more meetings, more protocols, more attempts to hold together something that wanted to fall apart. But in this quiet room, two people who had been enemies found something unexpected. Not love, not yet, but the possibility of it. And sometimes, possibility is enough. 1 year into their marriage, Hana woke to find Jiwon already gone from their shared bed. They had started sleeping in the same room 3 months ago. A quiet shift in their relationship that neither felt the need to announce. It had happened naturally. Like most things between them now, she found him in the garden, practicing combat forms in the early morning light. He moved through the patterns with deadly grace, every motion precise and controlled. She watched from the doorway, content to simply observe him. There was beauty in how he moved, even in movements designed for killing. "You're awake early," he said, without turning around. He had learned to sense her presence, the way she had learned to read his moods. Bad dreams? Always. Jiwon finished his form and grabbed a towel. Reports came in overnight. More attacks on the border settlements. This time coordinated across 5 different locations. Hana felt her stomach tighten. Casualties? 217 dead, human and Valtari both. He turned to face her, and she saw the weight in his eyes. Someone's funding these groups. The attacks are too well planned, too well supplied. They went inside together. Minji had breakfast ready, though neither of them had much appetite. The news feeds showed footage of burning buildings and crying families. Both human and Valtari commentators called for military action. The careful peace they had built was crumbling. "The council meets today," Hana said. "I should prepare. I'll come with you. You're not required to attend." "I know." Jiwon took her hand across the table. It was a simple gesture, but one that meant everything. "But you shouldn't face this alone." The Joint Peace Council chamber was chaos. Human representatives shouted about Valtari treachery. Valtari delegates demanded human accountability. Everyone blamed someone else, and no one listened. Hana sat in her designated seat, feeling helpless. Beside her, Jiwon remained calm, but she could feel his tension. He was a man of action, trapped in a room full of talking. Then the real news came. A courier rushed in with an urgent message for Emperor Ryujin. Hana watched her father's face go pale as he read the transmission. "General Tayang has staged a military coup in the outer territories," Ryujin announced to the stunned chamber. "He declares the peace treaty void. He has taken control of 3 military installations, and..." His voice broke slightly. "He holds my daughter Gina hostage." The room erupted. Hana felt the world tilt. Gina was only 16, sweet and gentle, and nowhere near ready for this kind of danger. "This is a Valtari internal matter," one human delegate declared. "We should not intervene. They're testing us," another argued. "If we don't respond, more will follow. Why should human soldiers die for Valtari problems?" Hana stood abruptly. The room fell silent. Everyone knew her now. She had become a symbol of the peace. Like it or not. "My sister is 16 years old," she said clearly. "She has done nothing except exist as a member of the royal family. General Tayang wants war. He wants to destroy everything we've built. If we let him succeed, if we abandon Gina, we prove that this peace means nothing." "Pretty words," a human delegate sneered. "But why should our people bleed for yours again? Because next time, it will be your people." His voice carried command even in this civilian setting. "This isn't about Valtari or humans anymore. It's about extremists who profit from our conflict. They're playing us against each other." Admiral Daehyun stood. "Commander Jiwon speaks the truth. Our intelligence suggests outside funding for both human and Valtari terrorist groups. Someone wants us fighting. Then investigate." The delegate shot back. "But don't ask us to start a war over one girl. Then." I'll go, Hana said. I'll negotiate with Tayang. He won't harm me. I'm too valuable politically. Absolutely not, Ryujin protested. I won't lose both my daughters. Father, we don't have a choice. Hana kept her voice steady, though fear clawed at her throat. If I go willingly, Taeyang gains nothing from hurting Gina. I can negotiate a peaceful resolution. It's a trap, Jiwon said flatly. He'll take you both hostage and have even more leverage. Then what do you suggest? Jiwon looked at her for a long moment. Something shifted in his expression. A decision made. I suggest we don't negotiate. Later, in their home, Jiwon made a call on a private channel. Hana listened as he spoke with Admiral Daehyun in clipped military terms. Strike team. Orbital insertion. Tactical advantage. Words that meant violence, but precise, calculated violence. You're going to attack, Hana said when he finished. Yes. They'll kill Gina if you assault the fortress. Not if we're fast enough. Not if we're good enough. Jiwon moved to his weapon locker. Something Hana had never seen him open. Inside were tools of war, carefully maintained and waiting. I have a team. Soldiers I trust. We've done impossible things before. You said you were done being a soldier. I lied. He selected weapons with practiced ease. Or, maybe I just wanted it to be true. But this is what I am, Hana. This is what I'm good at. Hana watched him transform. The careful, controlled man she had grown to love was putting on armor, both literal and metaphorical. He was becoming Commander Jiwon again, the weapon that had won a war. Then I'm coming with you, she said. No, she's my sister, which is exactly why you should stay here where it's safe. Jiwon turned to face her. I can't do this if I'm worried about protecting you. I know the fortress layout. I studied there as a child. I know Valterii military protocols and security systems. Hana stepped closer. You need me. I need you alive. And I need my sister back. I need you to come back. She took his hands. We do this together. That's what we've built, isn't it? Partnership. Jiwon closed his eyes. You're asking me to take you into combat. I'm asking you to trust me. He pulled her close, holding her tight. I trust you with everything. That's the problem. Then let it be our strength, not our weakness. The strike team assembled in an unmarked hangar. Hana met them one by one. Lieutenant Yoonji, a sniper who smiled rarely but fought like a demon. Sergeant Minho, who looked too young until you saw his eyes. Corporal Solgi, a medic who had saved dozens of lives under fire. Specialist Junho, who could hack any system, given enough time. They looked at Hana with curiosity and respect. She wore tactical gear now, borrowed from Yuna. She looked nothing like a princess, and everything like someone ready to fight. Listen up. Jiwon addressed the team. This is a rescue operation. Primary objective is Princess Gina. Secondary objective is capturing General Taeyang alive. He has information we need about who's funding these attacks. Rules of engagement? Unji asked. Weapons free on any hostile targets. But we're not there to start a war. We get in. Get the princess. Get out. Jiwon's eyes swept over his team. This is going to be hard. Taeyang has a full battalion under his command. We're 6 people. 6 people and a lot of attitude, Minho grinned. 6 people who have done this before, Junho added. Jiwon nodded. Load up. We drop in 4 hours. As they prepared, Admiral Daehyun took Jiwon aside. Hana watched them talk. Saw Daehyun put a hand on Jiwon's shoulder. Whatever was said, Jiwon nodded grimly. What did he tell you? Hana asked when they were alone. To bring you back safe. To not become what I was before. Jiwon checked his weapons one final time. To remember that being a warrior doesn't mean being a monster. 2. Jiwon. 2. You could never be a monster. You haven't seen me in combat. Not really. His eyes met hers, and she saw fear there. Not of dying, but of what she might see. I need you to understand something. Once we're out there, I become someone else. Someone who does terrible things efficiently. I don't want you to see that, and forget who I'm trying to be. Hana cupped his face. I will never forget. And I will never stop loving you. The words hung between them. It was the first time either had said them aloud. I love you too, Ji-won whispered. That's why this terrifies me. Then let's go save my sister and come home. Hana smiled, despite her fear. And then, you can spend the rest of your life being terrified of domestic peace instead of war. He laughed, short and sharp. Deal. The drop pod screamed through Kelrath Prime's atmosphere at speeds that would have killed unprotected passengers. Hana's stomach lurched as gravity played tricks with her senses. Across from her, Ji-won sat perfectly still, eyes closed, breathing controlled. The others checked weapons and equipment with practiced ease. 30 seconds, Junho announced. Ji-won's eyes snapped open. The man Hana had woken beside that morning was gone. In his place was something harder, colder, more dangerous. Remember the plan. Junho kills communications first. Eunji provides overwatch. Minho clears our path. Sulgi keeps everyone alive. Hana guides us through security. I handle any command-level resistance. The pod hit ground with brutal force. The doors blew outward before they had fully stopped. Ji-won was first out, weapon raised. 2 Voltari guards stood frozen in shock at the unauthorized landing. They never got a chance to raise their weapons. Ji-won's shots were precise, non-lethal, and devastatingly fast. Both guards dropped. Moving, Ji-won called out. They flowed through the fortress like water, fast and unstoppable. Junho's fingers danced over his portable terminal, shutting down security systems. Eunji found a high position and began calling out enemy positions. Minho's charges blew through reinforced doors. Sulgi dragged wounded guards to safety after neutralizing them, and Hana guided them through corridors she remembered from childhood, bypassing traps and checkpoints. She had expected to be terrified. Instead, she felt strangely calm. There was no time for fear when every second mattered. Contact front. Eunji's voice crackled over comms. 20 Voltarii soldiers appeared at the end of the corridor, weapons raised. They fired a volley that would have torn through any normal squad. But Ji-won had already moved, pulling Hana behind cover. Return fire came from 3 directions as the team split and flanked. Hana watched Ji-won move through the battle. He wasn't just shooting. He was predicting, countering, dominating. Every movement had purpose. Every shot found a target. He advanced through enemy fire like it didn't exist, closing distance impossibly fast. A Voltarii soldier swung a combat blade at him. Ji-won redirected the strike, disarmed the soldier with a twist of his wrist, and used the captured blade to disable 2 more enemies. It was brutal efficiency that bordered on artistic. Clear, Minho called out 20 seconds later. 20 soldiers down. None dead. All neutralized. Command center is 3 levels up, Hana said, consulting the mental map of the fortress. But there's a secondary route. Through the ventilation system. Too slow, Ji-won said. We go direct. They know we're here now. Speed is our only advantage. They pushed forward. More guards appeared. More fell. The team moved like a machine, each member knowing their role perfectly. But Hana saw the toll it took. Sulgi had minor burns from a near miss. Minho had taken a hit to his armor that would leave bruises. Even Ji-won bled from a graze along his ribs. The fortress alarms blared. Reinforcements would come soon. They had minutes, maybe less. Junho, can you locate Gina? Ji-won asked. Working on it. Junho plugged into a security terminal. Got her. Command level, Eastern Wing. She's in the same room as Tayang. Of course she is, Ji-won muttered. Eunji, find a sightline to that room. On it. They climbed through the fortress, fighting every step. Hana stopped thinking about right and wrong. She grabbed a fallen guard's weapon and used it when she had to. Training took over. Royal guards had taught her to fight, though she had never thought she would need it. A blast door slammed shut ahead of them. Minho examined it and shook his head. Too thick. I'd need 10 minutes, and twice the explosives. I know the override code, Hana said. Or I did when I was a child. If they haven't changed it. She keyed in numbers, ancient Voltari digits that represented the fortress's founding date. The door hissed and began to open. Good, Jiwan said simply. They moved through. The command center sprawled before them, a massive room filled with tactical displays and communication stations. General Tayang stood at the center, tall and imposing in his military uniform. He had Gina beside him, her hands bound, her face showing fear but not tears. Commander Jiwan, Tayang called out. The human who ended our war. I should have known they would send you. Release Princess Gina, Jiwan responded. His weapon never wavered. You've lost. Your communications are down. Your reinforcements can't reach you. This is over. Over? Tayang laughed. This is just beginning. Look at your precious peace, human, already crumbling. Soon both our peoples will be at war again, as we should be, as we were meant to be. Who's funding you? Jiwan demanded. Who gave you weapons and resources? Does it matter? There are always those who profit from conflict. They're using both of us. Human. But at least I'm honest about my violence. I'm honest too, Jiwan said coldly. Release her or die here. Bold words from one man. He's not alone. Hana stepped forward. Taeyang, you taught me military strategy when I was young. You believed in honor. What happened to you? I watched honor die on 100 battlefields, Taeyang spat. Honor doesn't win wars. Strength does. Your father forgot that. Your people forgot that. Let my sister go. Fight me instead. No, Jiwan said sharply. It's not your choice, Hana responded. Taeyang, single combat. By old Valtari tradition. You win. You keep Gina and we surrender. I win. She goes free, Taeyang considered. You were always clever, princess. But you're not a warrior. Then you should win easily. Jiwan grabbed her arm. Hana, don't. Trust me, she whispered. Taeyang released Gina, pushing her toward Sulgi, who caught the girl carefully. Very well. Old tradition it is. Single combat, no interference. He drew his blade. Hana drew hers, borrowed from the armory. They circled each other. Taeyang attacked first, fast and brutal. Hana parried desperately. She was trained, but he was experienced. Every strike pushed her back. She felt her arms growing tired. You can't win this, Taeyang said. I don't have to, Hana gasped. I just have to distract you. Jiwan moved. He had been waiting for the perfect moment, the instant when Taeyang was focused entirely on Hana. He crossed the distance in a blur, tackling the general away from Hana. They crashed into a bank of computers. What followed wasn't a fight. It was dominance. Taeyang was good, one of the best Valtari warriors. But Jiwan was something beyond. Every technique Taeyang used, Jiwan countered. Every strike was blocked or redirected. Jiwan fought like physics itself, inevitable and overwhelming. They traded blows that would have killed normal fighters. Taeyang's fist shattered a display screen. Jiwan's kick dented reinforced metal. They moved too fast to follow clearly, a blur of violence and skill. Hana watched the man she loved become what he had been during the war. Not just a soldier, a weapon. The god of war that Valterii's soldiers had whispered about in terror. He was beautiful and terrible in equal measure. Taeyang landed a solid hit to Jiwan's jaw. Blood sprayed. Jiwan didn't even slow down. He caught Taeyang's follow-up strike, twisted, and drove the general into the floor hard enough to crack the plating. Yield, Jiwan demanded, his blade at Taeyang's throat. Kill me, Taeyang spat blood. I won't beg. I don't need you to beg. I need you to talk. Jiwan pressed the blade closer. Who's funding the extremists? Give me names. The syndicate. That's all I know. They find people like me. People who want war. They give us resources. Where? I don't know. They contact us. We don't contact them. Tayang's eyes found Hana. Your peace is doomed, princess. Too many want it to fail. Then we'll fight harder to keep it, Hana said. Jiwan pulled Tayang up and secured his hands. The rest of the team moved in, securing the command center. Junho started downloading data from the computers. Evidence of the syndicate, hopefully. Outside, they could hear reinforcements finally arriving. But it was too late. They had won. Gina ran to Hana, crying now that the danger was past. Hana held her sister tight, feeling the fear and relief wash through her. You came for me. Gina sobbed. Always, Hana promised. That's what family does. She looked over at Jiwan, who was coordinating their extraction with Daehyun over comms. He was efficient, professional, still in combat mode, but when his eyes met hers, she saw the man underneath the warrior. He had become a god of war to save her sister. He had descended into violence because love demanded it. And somehow, that made Hana love him even more. The return to Kepler 442 felt like waking from a nightmare. Hana stood in their bedroom, watching Jiwan clean weapons he hoped never to use again. His hands moved automatically, muscle memory from years of war. But his eyes were distant, haunted by what he had done. Gina is with father, Hana said softly. She's shaken but safe. The medical team says she'll recover. Jiwan nodded but didn't speak. He hadn't said much since the extraction. The warrior who had stormed a fortress was gone. In his place was a man trying to reconcile violence with peace. Talk to me. Hana moved closer. What do you want me to say? Jiwan's voice was rough. That I enjoyed it? That becoming a killer again felt natural? I want you to say what you're feeling. I'm feeling like a monster. He set down the weapon he was cleaning. You watched me break bones and shed blood. You saw what I really am. I saw you save my sister. I saw you protect peace. Hana took his hands. You're not a monster. You're a man who does hard things because someone has to. You deserve better. I deserve you. All of you. The diplomat and the warrior. The man who tends gardens, and the one who storms fortresses. She made him look at her. Jiwan, I love you. That hasn't changed. Something broke in his expression. He pulled her close, holding her like she might disappear. I love you too. I'm just afraid of what I might become if war starts again. Then we make sure it doesn't. The evidence Junho had recovered proved more valuable than anyone expected. Financial records, communication logs, names of conspirators in both human and Voltarii governments. The syndicate had been playing both sides for years, profiting from continued conflict. Taeyang's testimony corroborated everything. Faced with evidence of his manipulation, the general became cooperate. He named contacts, revealed meetings, exposed the network that had nearly destroyed the peace. Within days, arrests began. Counselor Hyunwoo was taken into custody, along with 5 other human officials. 4 Valtteri nobles faced charges of treason. The syndicate's operations across both territories started collapsing as joint task forces moved in. The Peace Council reconvened. This time, the atmosphere was different. Anger remained, but it was directed at common enemies instead of each other. Humans and Valttarii shared intelligence, coordinated operations, worked together. The syndicate wanted us fighting. Admiral Daehyun told the assembly. They built their fortune on our blood. Every attack they funded drove us further apart. We can't let them win. Emperor Ryujin stood. My daughter risked everything to save her sister and expose this conspiracy. Commander Jiwan led a team of brave humans into danger to rescue a Valttarii princess. This is what our alliance should be. Not just treaties, but action. Not just words, but sacrifice. A human delegate rose. The commander's team included volunteers who could have died for a Valtarii royal. That's not something I thought I'd see in my lifetime. And Princess Hana walked into a war zone beside them, Ambassador Soman added. Our peoples can work together. We've proven it. The council passed new provisions, joint security forces, shared intelligence networks, transparency requirements for all military operations. It wasn't perfect, but it was stronger than before. Jiwan was offered a promotion to general. Hana stood beside him as he addressed Admiral Daehyun. I appreciate the honor, Jiwan said carefully. But I'm not the right person for that position. I'm a tactician, not a peacetime leader. Then what do you want? Daehyun asked. To train the next generation. Humans and Valtari together. Teach them to protect peace, not wage war. Jiwan glanced at Hana. To build something lasting. Joint military advisor for peacekeeping forces, Daehyun considered. That actually makes sense. You'd report directly to the Peace Council. I accept. Hana launched her own project. The Harmony Foundation started as a small organization but grew rapidly. Medical clinics expanded. Cultural exchange programs brought young people together. Refugee resettlement efforts gave displaced families new homes. She worked 16-hour days, driven by the belief that peace required constant effort. Jiwan supported her, taking over household duties when she worked late, making sure she ate and slept. They settled into a life that felt almost normal. Mornings in the garden, evenings reviewing reports, nights in each other's arms, finding comfort after hard days. 3 months after the Kelrath Prime incident, Hana had news. She waited until dinner, trying to find the right words. I saw the doctor today, she said casually. Jiwan looked up from his meal. Are you ill? No. I'm pregnant. He stared at her. The fork in his hand clattered to the plate. We're having a baby, Hana smiled. The doctor says it's rare, but possible. Human and Valtari genetics are compatible enough. She'll be the first. She or he? But I think she. Hana reached across the table. Are you happy? I'm terrified, Jiwan admitted, and happier than I've ever been. How is that possible? Welcome to parenthood. The announcement made news across both empires. A human Valtarii child, living proof that their peoples could have a future together. Some celebrated, some protested, but most saw hope in the possibility. The pregnancy was difficult. Valtari human biology didn't match perfectly. Hana spent weeks on bed rest. Jiwan barely left her side, reading to her, bringing her favorite foods, worrying himself sick. I'm fine, she kept telling him. You're not fine. You're in pain. Pain means she's growing. That's good. Their daughter was born on a spring morning, small and perfect and screaming with impressive lungs. She had Hana's eyes and Jiwan's stubborn chin. They named her Isul, meaning dew, fresh and new, and full of promise. Jiwan held his daughter with trembling hands. This hardened warrior reduced to tears by 7 pounds of baby. She's so small. She'll grow, Hana said tiredly from the bed. Probably into someone as stubborn as her father, or as brave as her mother. The years that followed weren't easy. Peace never was. There were incidents and tensions and setbacks, but the foundation held. The alliance grew stronger. Children like Isul became less rare. Mixed communities developed. Humans learned Valtari arts. Valtari adopted human customs. Jiwan trained new peacekeepers, teaching them that strength wasn't just about winning fights but preventing them. His students were both species, learning to trust each other in ways their parents' generation never could. Hana's foundation touched millions of lives. Medical advances came from combined research. Cultural barriers fell as people actually talked to each other. The refugee districts became thriving neighborhoods. 5 years after their marriage, Hana stood in the garden watching Isul play with other children. Human kids chased Valtarii kids in a game that mixed rules from both cultures. They laughed in the same language, seeing friends instead of aliens. Jiwon joined her, slipping an arm around her waist. She's fast. Going to be trouble when she's older. Good. The best people usually are. Hana leaned into him. Do you ever regret it? Giving up command for this? Never. Jiwon watched their daughter. I was a warrior because I had to be. But this is what I was meant for. Being a father? Being part of something larger than war. Isul ran over, breathless and grass-stained. Papa. Mama. Can we have a party? Suho and Nari want to come over. Of course, Hana said. Isul ran off, trailing other children behind her. The future in small, loud, messy form. She's going to change the world, Jiwon said. She already has, just by existing. Hana turned in his arms. We did this. We made peace real. You made it real. I just fought for it. You did more than fight. You showed both our peoples that humans aren't just warriors. You're builders, protectors, partners. She kissed him softly. My god of war became something better. What's that? My god of peace. The twin suns set over Kepler 442, painting the sky in colors that didn't exist on either Earth or the Valtarii homeworld. A new world with new possibilities, where former enemies raised children together, where warriors became teachers, where peace wasn't just the absence of war but the presence of hope. In the distance, construction crews worked on expanding the city. Human and Valtarii engineers, solving problems together, creating homes for families of both species, building a future none of them could have imagined just years before. Hana and Jiwon stood together, watching their daughter play in the garden they had planted together. The peace they had fought for, sacrificed for, nearly died for. It wasn't perfect. It would never be perfect. But it was real. And it was theirs. And that was enough. Come on, Hana pulled Jiwon toward the house. Isul wants a party, and we have preparations to make. What kind of party? The kind with too much cake and too many children. The best kind. Jiwon laughed. The sound warm and genuine. He followed his wife inside, leaving behind the warrior he had been, and embracing the man he had become. Behind them, the garden bloomed with flowers from two worlds, growing together in soil that had once been barren. A perfect metaphor for what they had built, what they would protect, what their children would inherit. Peace, forged in fire and built on love. The future, uncertain but hopeful, and that was enough.